Hello my dear friends, and welcome back to another Star Wars news update. Today we're going to be talking about the Bad Batch Season 2, whether it's still on track to release on September the 28th. We're also going to be talking about the Andor series and more. As always my dear friends, before we dive into the news, please be sure to hit that big red subscribe button down below if you've not done so, and also be sure to hit that bell to be alerted every time that I post a new video. So without much further ado and without any more jibber jabber, let's dive straight into it. So a lot of you have been asking me what's going on with the Bad Batch Season 2, with Andor being pushed from August the 31st to September the 21st, is the Bad Batch still releasing on September the 28th? Since we got the trailer at Star Wars Celebration, we've been waiting for more updates concerning Season 2, and we've also got to bear in mind that Tales of the Jedi is also set to release around the same time, but with Lucasfilm pushing things back, I wouldn't be surprised if the Bad Batch suffers as well. It could be moved to October, November, or even further back, but at this stage, we have no definitive answer. So let's analyse this. Disney have had two shows airing at the same time before, most recently Obi-Wan Kenobi and Ms. Marvel, but according to reports, Ms. Marvel had much lower viewership than any other MCU show on Disney+, and one of the speculated reasons is because it aired alongside Kenobi. As a result, Disney are changing things up. They've pushed back the Andor series to allow She-Hulk to have a chance, and for the Andor series to prosper, I doubt they're going to want the Bad Batch Season 2 airing alongside it. We're going to have to wait for further information though. At this stage, it's still coming out this fall. In the past, we spoke about the Bad Batch airing alongside Andor, and if it's more than a coincidence, there is some overlap after a few weeks. Could there be some plot points there that they share? Let's wait for an official announcement. Now, unless they're going to push the Bad Batch Season 2 to 2023, there is inevitably going to be some overlap. Now, I've always thought the solution is simple. You have one show on the Wednesday and one on the Friday, but that's not the way Disney seem to want to do things. So as I say, I'll keep you posted. So now my dear Mandalorians, let's talk about something much more optimistic. To celebrate the upcoming release of Andor, Rogue One is coming back to a few select IMAX cinemas for a brief run, starting on August the 26th. Very little info is known about it at the moment, but on top of Rogue One, they're also going to be showing some unused footage for the Andor series, 1 month out from the release date. What's more is that if you're here in the UK, Empire VIP Online have organised a Q&A with Tony Gilroy, Diego Luna and the rest of the main cast in London. The exact venue has not been announced at the time of making this video, but more info is sure to come over the next few days. But if you're feeling nostalgic and you want a chance to see Rogue One again in a movie theatre, this is probably one of your last chances to do so. Rogue One: A Star Wars Story came out during a time when Star Wars was absolutely popping. 2016 was an amazing time to be a Star Wars fan. The franchise still meant something in terms of pop culture, fans were still on the high of The Force Awakens, and we were desperate for the next cinematic installment of Star Wars. Even if Rogue One had nothing to do with the sequels, we were all excited. And ever since, aside from the build up to The Mandalorian Season 2, it's been a long time since Star Wars had that hype level. Star Wars was so relevant, and that continued all the way up to 2017. Some people theorized The Last Jedi had a lot to do with the decline, but generally speaking, 2015, 2016 and 17 were the best years in recent times to be a Star Wars fan. Now, I'm not counting the early 80s or the prequel years, I'm strictly talking about the Disney Star Wars era. Now personally, I can't wait to see Rogue One on the big screen again. I've already seen a lot of excitement over this announcement, and considering we're not getting a Star Wars movie for another few years at least, this kind of acts as a substitute for missing out on the cinematic experience of a new Star Wars film, maybe to some degree, but Rogue One is generally considered to be the best Star Wars movie of the Disney era so far, and given Andor is a prequel series to it, seeing it in cinemas is definitely going to get the anticipation up for the lucky fans who are able to see it. So as I say guys, more info still to come, but this is super exciting. It's not every day we get a re-release of Star Wars films. And so now guys, just a quick update for The Mandalorian. The other day I covered the production listing that stated Season 4 begins filming next month. Well, after that piece of news started making the rounds, Production Weekly realised they made a mistake, and since, the listing's been removed from their website. Some fans theorised they got the production date wrong, and that it's more likely to begin filming this November after the Ahsoka series wraps up. Maybe they posted it too early. If you think back a few months, they initially reported that Ahsoka was going to begin in January, then it was moved to March, April, and then it started in May, 2 months after The Mandalorian Season 3 wrapped, so in this case, it's probably just a mistake. But Jon Favreau confirmed Season 4 is very much in the writing stage, so filming is likely to begin in a few months, or maybe early next year. Let's wait and see. So next Next up guys, Mark Ruffalo has been causing a bit of a stink. He's thrown shade at Star Wars while defending the MCU. Now personally, I think what he said was absolute bollocks, but let's hear him out. Speaking with Metro about She-Hulk Attorney at Law, actor Mark Ruffalo addressed whether Marvel Studios is releasing too much content. Ruffalo defended the MCU and said that each director is able to do their own thing, unlike in Star Wars. Here is the full quote. "It's not something I worry about. I understand that these things run their course and then something else comes along, but the thing Marvel's done well is that inside the MCU, just as they do with comic books, they let a director or an actor sort of recreate each piece to their own style. Marvel generally lets them bring that to the material, and then he says if you watch Star Wars, you're pretty much going to get the same version of Star Wars each time. It might have a little bit of humor, it might have a little bit of different animation, but you're always really in that same kind of world. But with Marvel, you can have a whole different feeling even within the Marvel universe." Now, honestly, this is completely false. Not only is Mark Ruffalo comparing apples to oranges, but he's also ignoring the sheer amount of diversity of Star Wars content. Revenge of the Sith is very different to Solo, is very different to Rogue One, very different to Rebels, The Bad Batch, and so on. I feel like Star Wars has a very big diversity in terms of the type of content. It might be the same universe because we're focusing on one timeline, but generally speaking, the feel of each is very different. And he's also saying that directors can't bring their own style to Star Wars. That's very much incorrect. Just look at The Last Jedi. That was all Rian Johnson's vision. He went a completely different direction to J.J. Abrams. Another great example of directors bringing their own spice to Star Wars is what Favreau and Filoni are creating with Mando, Ahsoka, and Skeleton Crew. Or take Leslie Headland for example, who said that for the Acolyte, she was more or less given all the creative freedom she wanted. The same applies to Taika Waititi when he eventually directs his Star Wars movie. He told Kathleen Kennedy that he's going his own way with it, adding his distinct sense of humor and directing style. Even though there are higher-ups at Lucasfilm who supervise the creative process, it doesn't mean directors can't bring their own flair to it. The galaxy itself might be the same, but each project is different, and we're gonna see variations and differences between projects even more in the future. Andor is a perfect example of that direction, and so is the Acolyte. But even within the Skywalker saga, there are so many differences. The galaxy never really feels the same. So many planets explored, different concepts within the Force, the dark side, the light, real-life themes portrayed in a space opera. Star Wars is anything but monotonous. So in this case, I'm gonna have to disagree with him. And to compare the MCU to Star Wars is pretty faulty as a premise. Star Wars may cover many characters, eras, cultures, etc., but ultimately we're focusing on one timeline. The distinction comes from the fact that Star Wars has always been built as one franchise. The MCU, on the other hand, is a cinematic universe filled with many sub-franchises, each of which requires a varying tone to properly reflect its subject. This is what has allowed the franchise to continue for so long. But the way they've been set up by Disney is completely different. You just can't compare the two. Maybe he's talking about the fact that in recent times, Star Wars has really been focusing on the older characters, the legacy characters that were at its core when it started. We see that in The Mandalorian, also in Kenobi and the Book of Boba Fett, but going forward that really is going to change. But even though the protagonists a lot of the time have been characters we know and love, that doesn't equate to a lack of creativity, and I think the strongest arguments can be made about the animated series, but you might disagree. Let me know your thoughts guys in the comments down below of this and everything we covered in today's video. If you enjoyed this one, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and a huge welcome if you are. But until the next one guys, may the Force be with you always. I'm Star Wars Meg, have a good one.